How did these twin girls in the 70s and 80s manage to capture an entire continent with the genre of Afropop with no social media, no streaming services, and no digital identity of any kind? And they were able to export this genre from the continent of Africa across the world. My name is Olaniyi Olufemi, and I'm spending the next couple of months sharing whatever I learned about the Yoruba culture, arts, and pioneers of Yoruba art. And today, I'll be talking about the story of the Lijadu Sisters, Taiwo and Lijadu. To understand the musical journey and impact of the Lijadu Sisters, we have to take it back to where it all began. October 22nd, 1948, in the city of Jos, northern Nigeria. The Lijadu Sisters were born by Mrs. Adelaide Efunyemi Lijadu, and they were born into a family of very high artistical and musical representation. The Lijadu Sisters were sacred and very special from birth because, according to Yoruba tradition, twins are a sacred creation that are gifts from Olodumare, which is the divine creator in the Yoruba tradition and culture. To further understand the deep musical heritage in their family, the Lijadu sisters' mother, Mrs. Efunyemi Lijadu, was a candle wax artist, and also she works with herbal medicine. And through her work, she filled their house with a growing collection of music from legendary artists like Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, and Miriam Makeba. Their father was also an artist. He was a photojournalist, and also he plays the piano.
Our late grandmother, Petana, she used to play the piano.
Our mom played the mouth organ. Our dad played the piano. You know, we come from a musical background.
They sing.
And
functions.
And they are poets.
Sang in church. So when you grow up in that kind of environment, it's bound to rub off on you.
So the Lijadu sisters were already special in the form of they were twins, and also they were born into a family with a lot of cultural and musical heritage. And it doesn't stop there. The legendary Afrobeat creator Fela Anikulapo was also a cousin to the Lijadu sisters. Also, the Nobel Prize winner Wole Soyinka was also a cousin to the Lijadu sisters. So the Lijadu sisters has a long line of inheritance of heritage, cultural, and even being creative when it comes to music and their dominance even before they started singing. Fast forward to age 10, the Lijadu sisters were already singing together, and in their teens they were already writing their own song. And during these years, the sisters were not really following anybody's footstep. They were working on crafting their own identity and finding their own unique voice. In 1959, when television first arrived in Nigeria, the Lijadu sisters were one of the many faces you find on the television, representing states like Lagos or Eko in singing competitions across the country. In 1968, they released their debut single, which is Yami Jowo. Fast forward to a year later, they signed with Decca Records, a British-American record label established in 1929 by Edward Lewis. This became their stepping stone into the musical industry, and especially finding their voice and creating this new genre of music that they are ready to export across the world. One of the most unique things about this was that the musical industry as of that time was mostly dominated by men, especially in Nigeria. But the sisters, as some of us know their stories, they were rebellious. They weren't simply content to sing when they are told to do so. They were able to challenge ideologies and opinions. They were able to become band leaders and lead a band dominated by men in a culture that doesn't expect women to really lead anything.
Women have been playing important roles in the world of politics, in music, in the hospitals, in every aspect of life. You find women, and they're really educated. When I talk about education, they've gone and got education, where it really is. So it's only this industry that has the problem of shortage of female artists, and I won't be surprised in the next 5 years if we don't have more females in the profession than men.
The Lijadu sisters were like an exception during that time. One of the biggest turning points in the story of the Lijadu Sisters was in 1972, where without any press tours, any social media, any streaming services or anything of that sort, they were discovered by Ginger Baker, the legendary drummer of Cream, and he traveled down to Nigeria to find the sisters. When he met the sisters, he was stunned and surprised by how young they are and how controlling their voices were. Even though they were young and small, they were able to lead a group of people, lead a group of band, and also create something beautiful with their voices. He was surprised about their size compared to their musical talents and creativity. Within months, the twins eventually joined Ginger Baker on his Europe band tour, and they will later perform with him during the 1972 Olympic Games in Munich, Germany. Between 1969 and 1979, the Lijadu Sisters released 5 albums that on paper should actually have never worked, because they were able to merge a fusion of Yoruba tradition, funk, disco and pop, and all of this led into a new genre of music which is now called AfroPop. Some of their biggest hits sounded like different songs because they were able to create a new version and a unique version of music. Some of their biggest tracks are Iyami Jowo, which is a Yoruba classic, Orere Lejibo, which is also very popular, Common Home, Promise, and a lot of classical and timeless music were created between these 5 albums between 1969 to 1979. During the 1970s, Nigeria was in a reeling civil war, and during this time the Lijadu sisters, as we said, they were rebellious. They used their voice and their singing to speak against governments, to speak against instability. They sang about hunger, they sang about everything that was going wrong during the civil war. But behind all this glamour and all this buzz they've been generating, underneath, the Lijadu sisters were making little or no income from their record label. In the 1988 documentary Kokombe, or popularly titled The Nigeria Pop Music Scene, which was directed by English documentarian Jeremy Ma, the sisters didn't hold back. They specifically described what is happening with their labels and how their labels perpetually want them in debt.
It's like you should be the baby to this company because you are actually making the money for them. But the other side of the coin is that they don't care. They don't give one fig. Listen, it's like you get given some loans and you pay these loans over a long time. You know, you are perpetually indebted. How you pay your debt is nobody's, it's not even their business. They want you to keep owing them. And as far as they are concerned, you can keep owing them and you keep paying back until you die.
Underneath this exploitation from the record labels, the Lijadu sisters were one of the few women in the industry. They faced constant pressure as expected. Sometimes they had to be met with a test to trade access for opportunity just to get an airplay or a television booking. But as rebellious and as strong as they were, they pushed back. By 1988, the twins left Nigeria as the opening acts on a US tour with the musician King Sunny Ade. They planned to stay for 6 months, but after that, they never came back. Political unrest at home, the mounting risks of instability, and their outspokenness, and an industry moving on without them made New York City in the United States feel more safer than Lagos in Nigeria to them. By that time, they applied for political asylum, and Harlem in New York became their new home. From then on, the phone stopped ringing. There were no new deals, no performances, and nothing else. The sound that once filled the Nigerian television scenes quietly faded into silence, and with no digital archive to keep it alive, and nothing but memories and vinyl record gathering dust on collectors' shelves. When your story is as inspiring and as revolutionary as that of the Lijadu Sisters, silence is just a short-term thing. In the late 90s and early 2000s, the songs and the creations of the Lijadu Sisters began resurfacing. Famous rapper Nas famously sampled their song Life's Gone Down on his own track Life Gone Down. Decades later, in 2021, popular Nigerian singer Arasta also sampled the Lijadu Sisters song Orere Lejigo in her own song Sare, and we have more and more musicians that have sampled the creation and the work of the Lijadu Sisters over the years, and they include Kemba, Theophilus London, and many more. This goes to show you the impact and the creativity that the Lijadu Sisters had put into their work many and decades of years ago. The only problem with this sampling and reworking of their song was most of their songs were never really properly licensed over the years. So according to them, they were never really paid or compensated from the artist using most of their works. In 2014, almost after 30 years away from the stages and international tour, the Lijadu Sisters were invited to an all-star tribute by the Nigerian musician Williams Oyabo. They performed in London, then joined a tourist band across New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. They even appeared on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, and this was like a resuscitation of their long years of career silence and exploitation and sometimes almost no recognition. In 1996, Kehinde Lijadu suffered from severe spinal injuries after she fell down from a flight of stairs. During that time, as we've seen over the years, Taiwo stepped up and became a personal caretaker. She took care of her sister till she passed away in November 8, 2019. In 2024, after the death of Kehinde Lijadu, something remarkable happened. The archival label Numero Group stepped up to assist the Lijadu Sisters in creating a digital archive of most of their creations and songs to the current age. They announced a full issue campaign. They remastered the entire record of the Lijadu Sisters and created the very digital visibility the Lijadu Sisters have been craving for more than a decade. Today, Taiwo Lijadu is still alive and still living in Harlem in New York, and she's now an Ifa priestess, an artist, and also a fierce protector of the Yoruba culture and tradition, and also of a legacy that took half of a century to be properly valued. Taiwo Lijadu is always as she was. She is outspoken, unfiltered, and not afraid to challenge the world as she previously did. But the inspiring thing about the story of the Lijadu Sisters is not only about the music they created or how creative they were with their voice and their power and their will. It was how they made room for many African women in the music and in the creative space. How they were able to use their voices to raise other people's voices, especially women voices in the African musical industry, and how they were able to create opportunities for many more women who came after them when it comes to being creative and surviving in the musical industry, especially in Nigeria and in Africa.